All right. Well, first time, Mike and I, we did a live that we streamed into the group a couple of weeks ago, but we were using StreamYard. So this is the first time using it with Zoom since Facebook made it harder to do this. So I don't know why they made it harder, but whatever. We got 12 people watching in the group. We've got a few of you here live in the Zoom room. So we're going to go ahead and get rolling. The topic is leveraging listings to get more listings, right? Everybody wants more listings. And also, as importantly, helping your seller net the most amount possible, right? Because that's our jobs when we've got a listing. I have a checklist that we'll share, which is our internal sort of list of what we do anytime we get a new listing. And we'll share that with everybody. But what I really want is, what are we missing, right? Like what are you doing with your listings that's working to either get more listings or help your seller net the most? So we're going to share some of that, but really I want this to be as interactive as possible. And so thank you for those that are commenting in the group as well. By the way, if you're watching in the group, and you'd rather hang out with us in the Zoom room, you can go to wakeup.realestate/MM. Wakeup.realestate/MM. Either way is all good with me. We don't really care. We just want you to be interactive and engaged as much as possible. So before we get into the checklist, I would love to hear whether it's in the comments or in the chat here, where your last listing came from. In other words, like, was it from your sphere of influence? Was it a past client? Was it a for sale by owner? Was it an expired? Was it from a circle prospecting? Where did your last listing come from? Adele says a past client going live today. Well, hopefully this will be timely for you, Adele, this checklist, for sure. So Adele says, past client. Fernando says SOI. Ours, so I had the two most recent that I've had is a contractor that I've known for years and years and years. Okay. And the other one was actually like a cold lead that's been in the database. I'd actually have to look up where this one came from. Hey, Mike, can you look up Brobst? BRRBST and try and figure out what they opted in for. Maybe they were a Z buyer lead. I don't remember, but they've been in there forever. And one of the conversation starting scripts that we like to use got them in conversation. I met with them over the summer, and they reached out a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, we're ready to roll." The cool thing with that one is it will turn into multiple transactions. So even though they're moving out of the area, their son has been staying them, mid-30s age son, a little bit of a, whatever, interesting scenario there, but he needs to buy a place nearby. So it'll turn into multiple transactions, which is...
what was the stuff?
BROBST. BROBST. Thanks for those that are tagging others to come check this out. Andrea, I always forget if I think it's Andrea, just got a listing agreement signed, but I didn't see where the sort. Oh, SOI. So it's a lot of SOI. James from a Facebook group, Isabel, Sphere, Melissa, REO, Jackie, Street Text. Right on. Okay, so enough with that. Z-Buyer. So it was an old, and that had to be 2021, maybe 2022. I mean, that had to be an old one. But there's gold in there, right? You got to keep following up and following through with folks. This was not part of the plan for today, but Mike, can you drop in the chat the script we've been using with the homeowners, because it has been crushing it this week, as far as getting responses from people, like actually thinking about selling either now or in the near future. So this is a text script that we've been using this week for the folks in our KV core that we have an address for, that we think own the home and we think we have the right address. It's not perfect, right? Because we do get some people that are like, I don't live there, or rent, whatever. But that script, which is, hi, Mike, would you be open, parentheses, and available for a quick chat about the market value of your property at the street address? Okay, not the full address, just the street address, question mark, let me know. Okay, so that's a good one. You should try that one. Obviously, I can't guarantee your results, but Mike, we've sent that to how many? We have a couple of hundred left to round it out.
I would say about 1,000. It was about 1,000. And
so we've sent it to about 1,000, and I have had a bunch of wonderful conversations. I've been sending Loom video follow-ups about their market value and some of the different offer types that we have available for them. It's been fantastic. The results have been fantastic. And now it's about, getting them to the next step in the process and making sure that I follow up and follow through with folks, because, some of them do go cold, they get busy, whatever. And I have 2 follow-ups this afternoon. I have one that he's busy until next week, but lots of good stuff from that one. Definitely a keeper, and one that we'll probably use again in January, I'm thinking. So mark that down. Okay. The topic at hand, leveraging listings to get more listings and to help your seller net the most possible. I am going to share my screen, and I am also going to share this in our chat here. So the link to this document. Now, if you're watching in the group, the easiest way, Mike, I don't know if you can pin that, or you might just have to shoot me a DM, and after we're done here, I can send you this document. It's just a Google Doc. But again, this is our first time we're streaming sort of this way. So work with us here and be patient. And we'll get the document, and I have at least one other resource that I'll include with the replay of this for those that want to watch again, or if you missed it the first time. So this is our listing launch process checklist. And what I thought I'd do is go through the list, and then B, I would love to hear from all of you, whether you're in the Zoom room with us or you're watching in the group, the live stream in the group. What are we missing? What do you do that works to either get more listings, right? Like from the neighborhood or whatever, or B, helps you net more for the seller, right? So step one is create your marketing pieces, or at least that's our step one. So creating a custom texting code in KV Core, or whatever you're using for that. We like to keep it simple. I use my initials, JS, and then the number of the street address. So the most recent listing was 342 East North Street, which, by the way, is an incredibly confusing address. 342 East North Street. I don't know why Carlisle has East and West North Street. They also have Northeast Street and Southeast. Anyway, so JS 342, and then we have our smart number. And so we can use that on things like the next in line. We use freephotobranding.com. Mike uses that, where we take our listing images, we upload, and then you can overlay. Now you could do this in Canva or whatever you want to do. You don't have to use this one. It's just an easy way. We overlay, for picks and up to the minute pricing, text JS 342 to 717-510-1452. You want to make sure that you geotag all of your listing images. Images. You want to create email and text templates, which we'll share below, and then create a smart campaign with automated multi-channel follow-up. Okay, Smart Campaign is just the KV Core verbiage. Whatever CRM you're using, they have the same functionality. But what you want is, if someone requests more information about your listing, that you follow up with them, right? That you send it to them automatically. And obviously, manually following up with them is also a worthwhile pursuit. We do reverse prospecting on all of our listings. Now, the way we do this, okay, so like reverse prospecting is not like revolutionary, right? But at least in Bright MLS, you have to do it one by one, which is a pain in the you know what. So Mike has a process that he follows where we it's not you can't really download them in Bright, but he can copy and paste them and clean up the data, and then we put it into our CRM, and then I can send the same message one to many agents, right? So I'm sending them the reverse prospecting, but I'm doing it with leverage. Okay. So the last one, 342 East North Street, I think there were 272 agents that we sent a reverse prospecting email to, right? That would be, obviously that one's not going to lead to more listings, but it's going to help you, it's going to help you help your seller, right? Okay. So some form or another, you definitely want to do the reverse prospecting. Okay. Now, posting to social, there's a bunch of different buckets here. And here's what made me think of digging into this topic. Number one, I've had a couple of listings lately. And so, time to review best practices. What are we missing? What are we not doing? How can we do a better job? I'm focused, I've been doubling and tripling down on focusing on listings in my market for obvious reasons. And so we want to, make sure that we're not missing the boat, right? Like we're leveraging them in every way possible. So we added one to this recently, which made me thought, let's see what else we're missing by all these smart folks who are joining us today. Okay. So we want to post to your Google business listing. So we upload the branded geotagged images that you're just uploading to your photos bucket. And then you want to create a product for your listing. Every listing that you have, you want to add as a product. And then you can also create a post about the listing using 3 or 4 of the branded images. So 3 ways just from your Google business listing to get that information out there. Obviously your Facebook business page. Now I don't have your Facebook personal profile here, but that makes sense also, right? You might want to post it on your profile and share it to your page or vice versa, or just share them each independently. Either way, whatever works for you, and you might even vary it depending on the listing, right? Just to see what works. But obviously leveraging Facebook for this for sure. We, with every one of our listings, will create a Facebook, and we should say Facebook and Instagram ad, a lead ad, a Facebook and Instagram lead ad, using something like listings to leads or street text. And just for full transparency, these are my affiliate links to these platforms. They both offer free trials. They have some overlapping functionality, but they have some differences as well. Listings to leads is a lot more affordable and would be the place that I would recommend you check out first if you want help with that. But it makes it very easy to launch ads. There's also a whole bunch of other reasons why you might check out listings to leads. They've got some great, I would say, I've said this often, but maybe not in a while, that listings to leads is one of the best values when it comes to marketing as real estate agents. In other words, they make it affordable and they offer a ton of value, which isn't always the case to businesses and software, et cetera, that are being offered to us as real estate agents. So just something you might want to check out there. Now, here's the new one that we've added. Posting to next door. Okay. So there's a step-by-step tutorial there. And you can, even if it's not in the neighborhood for your next door, it doesn't matter. When you create the post, they even have like a real estate for sale section now. So you can create that and share it there, but you want to tag the address of the property because then it'll notify the neighbors around them. Even more powerful with Nextdoor is if or when you do an open house, you definitely want to create an event post with that, because when you do that, you can actually invite however many people Nextdoor identifies as the local neighbors. And in some cases, like we've done it where it ended up being like 125 people, but we've done it where it was 300 or 400 people that Nextdoor will notify about the open house, right? They'll actually like get the, you know, the little notification bell on Nextdoor. So that's one way to actually, you know, leverage Nextdoor in a way that at least, I don't know. I get the Nextdoor notification emails, and it's always, you know, or not always. The majority of them are people complaining about X or Y or Z, you know, right? Like, so just ignore those, and find ways that you can use it to help you grow your business and also help your sellers, right? Because you know, it's a free way that you can get more people out, and maybe the neighbors want to pick their new neighbor, right? So anyway, Nextdoor. Okay, so you want to share the listing there, and if you do an open house, definitely create an event on there. Definitely create an event on there. Which, by the way, Mike, since I mentioned it, can you also drop in the chat the open house checklist? Right, it's a checklist similar to this, but it's specifically for promoting an open house. And there's a bunch of free strategies. There's some paid, but it's mostly free strategies. Okay, post to Craigslist. You can take it or leave it on Craigslist, but it still does work. You know, I've actually sold a couple of properties over the years still from leads that came from Craigslist. So, you know, it's free. If you have a systematic way of sharing them on there, great. KB Core has like an integrated posting tool. Now, it requires a little bit of setup, but Listings to Leads also has an integrated tool that you can, you know, require some setup, but it can help with that. Okay, here's a big one. Actually, before I get into that, what are we missing on this? Like, I'm already thinking of something, which would be a video, right? A video of it that you also, you know, you add to your YouTube channel, you post to Facebook and Instagram, to TikTok. If it's 30 seconds or less, you can directly upload the video to Google Business Listing. If it's more than that, you can create a post on the Google Business and link back to the YouTube video. Okay. So we definitely, you know, video. If you aren't so inclined to create your own video, Listings to Leads, when a new listing of yours is populated there, you can actually you can hit a button and they'll make a video that you can use, or you could do a voiceover video. Like, you can just pull up the listing. There's lots of ways that you could create the video content, but that would be another thing that we should probably add to the checklist for that bucket. What else are we missing under that sort of header? Social media, social posting.
Did you put LinkedIn?
You know what? I didn't. Mike, we should add LinkedIn to the list. That's a great point, Adele. See, I knew there was a good reason to open this up here. Jackie, go ahead.
I would put money behind an ad on YouTube of the video to put it out.
I like that. So you could do through the Google ad platform, you can run ads where and there's two different variations. There's in-stream and there's, I forget what the other bucket is called. But you can give Google a little money to get more views of the video. Now, will you sell your listing for more because of that? Maybe, maybe not. But what that becomes is another thing that you can point to when meeting with sellers that you do to help make sure to maximize exposure and get the greatest number of potential interested buyers to the property. Okay. Along the ad front, you could also run a Google ad specifically for the listing. Not something that we typically do, but you can, right? And depending on the type of property, you might want to, right? Is it a luxury high-end property with an incredible waterfront view or on the water or whatever that might be of interest to out-of-market buyers? You know, there's scenarios there where it might make sense to do that. What else are we missing on that front?
I'm not sure if you have to send to like your contact list, especially with the KB Core. It may get some sort of response from anyone. I don't know.
You know, do we not have that in here? We don't. Okay, so that is a great point. So messaging, whether you send a text or email or both to your existing database about the listing. And you could, if you're using a platform like KV Core, you can potentially segment it by the people looking in that area and only send it to them. Or you might say, just listed in Carlisle Borough, who do you know that might be interested? And you can include the link to the property, right? So get them, employ them in the process of promoting the property. Here's another thing, another benefit to listings to leads. They have a section in listings to leads where you can enroll your seller client in the marketing process or include them. So they have marketing collateral or marketing assets that the seller can then share on their social media. And I've used it sparingly. I probably should use it more. Now, if they're not on social media, if they're not, whatever, like the one that I mentioned, this 342 East North Street, they're pretty, they're not super social media savvy folks. They're not, they're older clientele who just aren't social media friendly, but maybe the son is. I didn't even think of that, right? The son might be more apt to. So I'm going to make a note to do that with those clients this afternoon. Anything
Maybe
else
have them share it to their HOA.
I like
because
that.
you
like
know
that.
a
That's
lot of
kind
times
like the next door, but a little variation to that.
yeah.
So so there may be different ways, like the HOA may have their own sort of platform or whatever, but a lot of HOAs also have Facebook groups, like ours does. So sharing it into there, right? Like who do you know that would like to be one of our neighbors, right? So I like that a lot. That's a great share. What else are we missing? Facebook Marketplace. Holy smokes. How do we not have that on there? We do that. We just didn't add it to the checklist. Thank you. Who was that? Low. Facebook Marketplace. Absolutely. Upload to Facebook Marketplace. We actually have, Mike, when you add that to the checklist, can you also add like a link to because don't we have an action plan specifically for that, I think, which is how we how we post a marketplace. 3 or 4 images. There's a structure to the details that you share. You create the Facebook Marketplace post, and then we share it to relevant local Facebook groups, and that can get you a lot of activity as well. And again, get you more clients, maybe more listings, but also more clients, because only one person is going to buy your listing, right? But we want to leverage them in every way possible to generate more opportunities. Lo also mentioned ZenList. Absolutely, that's an EXP sort of exclusive for sure. And Dan, we didn't lose Ryan. I was actually on a call with or a Google Meet with Ryan earlier. He'll be a regular participant on these masterminds for sure. Okay, so I'm going to keep it moving along here because I do also I want to cover this topic, but I also want to open it up if anybody has things that they're working on, need help with, etc. And I have an appointment at 12:30, so I've got a hard out at the top of the hour. So let's get back to our checklist here. So, posting to Craigslist, just listed, pending, and just sold postcards. Just listed, pending, and just sold postcards. So now this part here is a wonderful way to get you more listing opportunities and also certainly help your sellers, right? Because the neighbors may know someone, and despite having a sign out or whatever, they may just be oblivious to it. But I think the biggest benefit to this that we've seen is this type of direct mail, just listed, pending, and just sold postcards. this type of direct mail has directly generated more actual listing opportunities than the majority of other type of direct mail. So like geo-farming, postcards, or letters, etc. At least in my personal experience, this has generated more. So just listed, pretty obvious, and nothing remarkable about that. But when you use thanks.io to send them, there's some cool functionality built in there, especially if you combine using with a platform like iList. The big thing about that is when someone scans the postcard, you get notified, and that gives you the opportunity to follow up. And hey, it looks like you scanned the postcard we sent about the property we just listed. Were you just curious? Do you know someone that might be interested? Right? You just open a conversation with them. No pressure, no hassle whatsoever, kind of thing. The one that everybody's heard of, just listed, just sold, but we're also in a lot of cases sending pending. So it's pending or under contract. We send that, and that one we can weave in the idea that the sold price isn't publicly available, but if you'd like to chat about that, you can reach out, right? So you can kind of hint at the number, and I don't tell folks the number, but I will tell them, it was significantly over the list price we had on it, or it was, it was slightly over, right? And then you can make a note to let them know once it is official and public knowledge, you can follow up with them, right? So it's just about creating those conversation opportunities. I recently sold a listing right in my neighborhood, and I sent out, I don't even think I sent out just listed, because it happened very quickly, and I knew it was going to sell very quickly. So I think in that scenario, I just sent the pending and the just sold, which, by the way, if you want the templates, like the verbiage that we use on those, if they're not in the checklist, just reach out and we'll get you those if you want to use those. But I sent those out to about 150 in here, and it has already generated one more listing. It's a little bit messy, if I'm being honest. It wasn't the house in the neighborhood. It was a house that someone in the neighborhood owns, but it was an investment property. I'm hoping we get to the settlement table. We'll see. But there's another one that came from that I actually have a follow-up with tomorrow, that is in the neighborhood, and it'll probably sell for $475,000, $500,000, which for me, if you don't know, I'm in central PA, Cumberland County, Dauphin County, Perry County, York County, like the whole 717 area code we cover. Our average price is like 300. So 475 to 500 is, kind of excited about that one. And that came from pending and then the just sold. I think he scanned the pending, but he also got the just sold. And I think I've sent one more postcard after that to that target audience. So that is going to be, a big key for getting or creating more listing opportunities from the listing. And then what else we have on the checklist here is the scripts that we use to reply, the text and the email scripts that we use to reply when we get people opting in or requesting information about the listing. Oh, and the templates for the postcards are in here because Mike's Johnny on the spot here. And there's the Facebook Marketplace posting. Mike, if you can't tell, Mike is the best ever, and he's actively updating the checklist as we speak. So that's why we like to use Google Docs, because they're, they live in the cloud and we can update and upgrade. So is there anything else that we're missing? Andrew says, circle prospecting postcard, you send to 1,000. And Andrew, for those of you wondering, Andrew is primarily a luxury listing agent in the Columbus, Ohio area, and is absolutely killing it. If you don't, if you're friends with him on Facebook, you would already know that, because I feel like it's like every day Andrew is posting something that he just listed or he just sold or coming soon in that beautiful luxury market. Now, Andrew, were you trying to? I can highlight you here. Were you holding up something? marketing piece wise?
Hey, Josh, I dropped a front and back to a 6x11 postcard in the chat, so people are
Oh,
welcome to go.
sweet.
Um, and that is an EDDM postcard. I love the just listed, just sold, but I want to hit 1,100 households, and that's a little bit pricey for me to do that. So
Why
I use
1,100? Just curious.
1,100 is $540 printed and delivered.
Okay.
So the house price is 1.4 million. So if you think about my budget, I'm going to mail 1,100 on the front end, and I'm doing it a couple of days ahead of time. So I have a VIP. The call to action on the front of the card is a come to the VIP open house on Thursday night from 5 to 7, and then I repeat. Not another mailer, but I repeat on the card that I'll have an open house on Saturday from 1 to 4. So really, I'm trying to reach out to those people that are immediately around the neighborhood. And then I'll follow that up with another 1,000 postcards on the back end. So I've got $1,000 in expense, but the average price in that neighborhood is $1.4 million. So certainly worth it.
So for you, I mean, if you did that for 5 properties and it turned into 1 more, it still is a significant return on investment. I mean, significant.
And to share like a success story, I have a prospect that I've been prospecting for 28 months now. I've mailed them 14 times. So let's just say I've spent $14 on mailing them. They called me. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna be selling our house in March of next year, but we've got a pool. We're getting ready to close the pool. We always hear your message about taking pictures in the fall." So I'm actually shooting that house today. It's a $1.8 million listing. So my return on those 14 mailers is right there.
Well, it's right. So what I was going to say, it might have cost you 14 for that specific, but there was a larger investment there. And also it still is a significant ROI, whatever the total bucket that you hit 14 times was. And direct mail like this is just creating overwhelming evidence in the eyes of the recipient that, you know, that you're in the market, you do market, and that you can help when it makes sense, right? So the difficult thing with direct mail is you can't always, it's harder to directly attribute the ROI, especially on a short or a narrow horizon or timeline, but over the long haul, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you have specific target subdivisions or geo farms that you're working.
Well, to quantify that, they were part of an EDDM mailer, but also I mailed them just listed, just sold postcards. So my distribution is smaller, and I would say about 9 of those mailings were a very direct response where I actually used a product very similar to thanks.io, where I mailed, let's say I only mailed 8 people in the neighborhood because I identified those 8 people as people that have pools. So I mailed them and said, "Hey, I recently sold a house in the neighborhood with a pool. I ended up with multiple offers. So I have 2 or 3 people that are still looking for a house with a pool. I pulled the satellite image. I noticed you have a pool. If you're thinking about selling, reach out to me." So those were very, 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 very targeted.
A congruent message like that can be, I mean, incredibly effective. And Andrew did the beautiful thing with that is the work that Andrew put in to find the ones that have a pool because of this, like who else is doing it? Let's be honest. Right? Like no one else is going to go to that length. And then they get a message that is specifically talking to that point. If nothing else, it is incredibly impressive to the recipient that length of going to those lengths for your client or potential clients, and presenting them with a message, a market to message match that is very congruent. So kudos. I'm curious. Go ahead, Andrew.
One last thing is that neighborhood has 140 households in it. It's generated 8 transactions for me, north of $10 million.
Just let that sit. Bravo, bravo. So the card that you dropped here, has that hit yet?
That hits today. But I've mailed a similar card. The one I was holding up was was like from a previous, and I will tell people, you may, when I go to the open house, I may get 3 neighbors out of 1,000, 3 neighbors. But I think that because of the quality of these cards, they also have, hey, if you're not ready to sell, but you want to have a market update every single month, they can scan for that as well. So I have 2 paths, just like Dan Kennedy says, two different audiences that we're speaking to, because not everybody wants to buy a house.
Yeah. Some people are asking. So Hillary, Andrew shared the card in the chat. Here's what we'll do. We'll download it. We'll include it with the replay of this for those who are interested, which we post the replays on wakeup.realestate, and we post them in the group. So we'll add the resources, etc. Or if you're impatient, like I am, often you can DM me and we'll get it to you as soon as possible. Once we wrap up here. Were you going to say something else, Andrew?
I was just going to say, I put most of everything that I share with realtors, because I just feel like, we want to help everybody be successful. Yeah. I typically put stuff in my LinkedIn profile, and I dropped a link to my LinkedIn, to a recent LinkedIn post. So if people want to follow me on LinkedIn and reach out to me, I'll share any of my stuff with them as well.
So it's Andrew Robinson on Facebook, Andrew Robinson on LinkedIn. He's Real Brokerage. If you're seeing, you're obviously seeing him here, so you can find the right Andrew Robinson and follow him, or request to connect on LinkedIn, or even friend request on Facebook if interested. That would be great. Nextdoor took my Andrew, so they took it down because they said unauthorized advertising. Interesting. I've not had that happen to me, but keep that in mind, I suppose. So that was an open house post on Nextdoor that they took down and said unauthorized advertising. Might be a bunch of Karens on Nextdoor. There certainly are. There's no doubt about that. Andrew, thanks for sharing. I'm going to unpin an ad on YouTube. I'm just going through the comments here to make sure that we're highlighting. Is anyone using Pinterest? I definitely am not, but be curious to know. If you're using someone else's listing, how would you change this up? Well, that's a great question, Jeanette. Number 1, permission. Number 2, I don't know that I'd change a lot. I wouldn't do everything as if it's your own, but you can certainly pick and choose the pieces that would be most relevant. And I would say that so the Facebook Marketplace, if your budget is limited, if you've got more time than you have money, budget-wise, Facebook Marketplace, following the protocol that Mike added to the checklist with listings that you've borrowed with permission, is a wonderful way to create conversation opportunities and client opportunities. It works great. You do have to sift and sort through the tire kickers to get to the real potential clients, but it's great practice. You sharpen your sales skills by doing so, and you will find business out of it. I'm trying to think. It was last November. So I had used Marketplace when I reactivated my license at the end of 2019 or early 2020. I used it. I abused it. They kicked me off. I was kicked off for years, and they finally late last summer, so like August of 23, after I would appeal every 3 to 6 months. I think it was 6 months, and they finally let me back in. They haven't kicked me back out yet. And from the time that they reinstated my marketplace, I generated a lead in late August or September, and they bought a $420,000 house in November of last year that our mortgage team is now doing they bought with VA financing, and we're doing a VA refi for them now. So there is opportunity to be had from Marketplace, but you do have to sift and sort, and you get some Karens in the comments when you share in groups and so forth. It's not just Karens. What's the male version of a Karen? Like, what do we call it? And I don't know if we have any Karens on here. I mean, people whose name is actually Karen, so we're not trying to offend. Hopefully you get the point. How many do you recommend sending the postcard around the listing? So Andrew shared what he shared. I do think it's relevant. Like, Andrew is investing that amount, but he's got a listing for 1.4, and we're not going to ask Andrew what his commission is on it, but let's just assume it's probably pretty good, even if it's on the low end of the spectrum. So it's worthwhile for him to do that amount. For me, I generally speaking, I typically am like in the 150 to 200 people. We don't have massive subdivisions here, and my price range is lower, generally speaking. So you got to get what's comfortable. I think it's a matter of, there's no perfect answer for that. It's a matter of matching the budget to the property and figuring out what works for you. Mike, thanks for reposting. Some people reaching out to Andrew on LinkedIn. That's awesome. And Mike putting the okay. So anyone else, comments, questions, thoughts, ideas related to this topic, or if you have something else that would, the group would benefit from, we can open it up to whatever folks have. And again, for those watching in the group, we will get all of the resources put together with the replay and out most likely this afternoon. Worst case scenario tomorrow. If you're impatient, shoot me a DM and I'll try to get it to you even sooner than that. Joseph says this is fire. Appreciate you, Joseph, in California. And yes, we will add the open house strategy. That's a checklist on its own. Fernando, iList, growwithjosh.com/iList. And you're perfectly teed up. So next week on the mastermind, I am going to have a guest who is going to be sharing, a guest who has built out a CRM platform and some other functionality that bolts to iList. And so for those of you curious about, iList is a seller engagement platform. Okay. So like IDX, search, websites, etc. That's a buyer engagement platform. Buyers can go, they can play with, all the filters and so forth. And we can have the argument as to whether or not that's good strategy when buyers can go to Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com. But what iList is a dashboard where a homeowner can go and they can play with the value of their home based upon exterior upgrades, interior upgrades, and different factors, et cetera. They can also explore different cash offer options, et cetera. So it's an engagement platform that you can use to provide value to sellers and then give you the opportunity to follow up with them, those that are engaging with it. So we're going to dig into that on next week's mastermind. I'll share how we're using it, and I'll share the software CRM platform that we are bolting on to iList and building out right now to get even more engagement. And no need to wait for next week to use the script. Mike, can you pop the script again that we're using this week with the homeowner portion of our database, because it is working incredibly well, and you don't need any additional platform or technology to use the script. If you know that they're a homeowner, or you presume they're a homeowner in your database, you can use this script and create some conversation opportunities with potential sellers right now. Now, I will say, not everybody, and few and far between, the people that respond to this are going to be, ready, willing, and able to list right now. But I've put a bunch of people in my future listing bucket. People that are ready, that they're in the springtime or late winter or early summer. like that's when their timing is going to be right. But I've made the connection with them. I've provided them with value. And as long as I don't screw it up, I'll get at least a crack at that listing. And the script again is, hi, Mike, would you be open, parentheses, and available for a quick chat about the market value of your property at street address, question mark, LMK, thanks. Good stuff there. Anybody else have anything, questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas for the group before we let everybody, A, use that script, and B, maybe use or implement some of what is on the checklist? Going once? Going twice? Well, this is cool. I'm excited, A, that we had such a good crowd in the Zoom room, and B, that we actually got it to live stream as well. And so the plan moving forward is every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we will have these masterminds, but we will have a focused topic and maybe a special guest, or maybe we have someone like Andrew that we just pin and have a conversation for what's working right now. Melissa.
Yes. Hi, Josh. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Good. Great information today. So listen, real quick, going back to the script that you just presented with us, I use KV Core as well. So my question is, should I just go in and search all of my sellers and just blast this off through my KV Core
That's
platform?
what we did. That's what we did. Yeah. Yep. So, but you want to make sure if you're merging in street address, you want to make sure that you have their street address, because you may have them tagged as a seller, but if you don't have their street address, you're going to kind of look like a little goofy if you're, because then it'll just merge in, street address. But if you reach out to Mike, he'll literally give you the KV Core, and Mike may have actually, what he put there, I think, is the KV Core version of it, meaning like the merge tags are from KV Core. And so for those of you using it, you would filter by, I think the way we do it, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, it's that we have their phone number, that they're subscribed to text, and that we have a property address for them. Yeah, and that we may exclude certain people, right? Like if we don't want to hit somebody, obviously we don't want to hit an active listing, right? Some obvious things there. And then Mike sent out to 500 on Monday, 500 yesterday, and we're hitting another 200 after we wrap up here. But you don't have to have thousands or hundreds, right? If you got 20 of them in there, just who cares, right? Like any kind of response is good. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
Hope that helps. Absolutely. Anybody else have anything before we roll out and get to work on compiling all of the resources here? James says, I just got luxury shirt certified through EXP. Thankful for your feedback. Absolutely. Andrew's, I've known him for years, super helpful, and an absolute killer on the luxury front. So, Andrea, I think it's Andrea, asked, do we have a coming soon listing checklist? You know what? We should probably add that. Like some of it is repetitive in nature, but that's a good point. And maybe it's a topic for a future, but we'll make at least a little list of, here's what you can do during the coming soon phase. And then once it goes live, or you could just treat it. I mean, quite honestly, you could treat that checklist from the coming soon phase. What about? Jacqueline. We'll dig into that a little bit next week. The bidding platform. A little bit next week. Okay, so we're gonna let everybody get to implementing what they, if there's anything from the checklist that makes sense, or if not, at least that homeowner text script that's working really well. And next week we're gonna dig into. We're gonna have a special guest digging into marrying the iList seller dashboard with an interactive AI-driven software CRM platform, and what we're doing with that, and what's working for other folks with it. So thanks again for a great crowd, all of the comments and feedback. And hopefully we'll see you next week. And bring back your results and wins as well. We'd love to hear, what kind of response rate you got from the text, etc. Andrew, thanks again. Melissa, thanks again for sharing. And Jackie and Adele and Mike, of course, as always, thanks for all you do. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of the week and hope to see you next Wednesday.
Bye-bye.
See you, everybody.